Should you draft or avoid these 5 wide receivers in fantasy football? These are guys that are extremely polarizing. They're getting a lot of draft capital, and we have to break down the decision. Should you take him or leave? Now, first up, we're going to go in ADP order. It's Deebo Samuel, wide receiver 16 in the second round, going at pick 21.5. Deebo had a really interesting season last year, very boom or bust, and he actually ended with more points per game than Ayuk did. He had 16.2. Ayuk had a little over 15. Now, with Deebo, there were actually 3 games that he left early last year with injuries and 2 games he missed. When you take away the 3 that he left early, he averages 18.5 points per game. That would be the wide receiver 6 on the year. We also just got recognition today that Brandon Ayuk had that phone call with Jaden Daniels where he says basically the 49ers don't really want him, and I guess he doesn't think he's going to stay. They also obviously drafted Ricky Pearsall and another wide receiver, so maybe they could be pushing him out. I think he does have a ton of trade value, and it would kind of make sense for a team that doesn't have a whole lot of money to spend. But even worst case scenario, if Ayuk does stay, I am still in on Deebo in the late second round, early third round because of the immense upside he has, and if he wasn't injured last year, he would have been a top 6 wide receiver. Now, the second one is the wide receiver 18 at pick 25.1. It is Malik Nabers. This is one that's very tough. I think he'll be used a lot like CeeDee Lamb in the early parts of his career. He's very great after the catch, amazing at LSU, really reminds me of that Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel type of build. We can break a ton of tackles in open space. But the real problem is he's on the New York Giants, who I think will force feed him a bunch of volume, but it's going to be around the line of scrimmage. Consistent stuff, but I'm not sure how much downfield ability he's really going to be able to show with Daniel Jones. And for wide receivers going this early on the 2-3 turn, in your home leagues, he's probably going to be in the 3rd or 4th round. I really want guys who the next year will be in the 1st or 2nd round, or at least have that type of upside. And while he does as a talent have that type of upside, in this situation, I can't really see him going much further than like 11 or 1,200 yards and maybe like 6 to 8 touchdowns. And it's really nothing against him. Like we saw CeeDee Lamb come on, 1,000-yard receiver, nothing crazy, although he did compete with Amari Cooper. But Dak Prescott and that offense were much better. So personally, I think Malik is a little too rich for me here. I am not going to be drafting him. Next up is DJ Moore, wide receiver 20 at pick 28.1. Last year, I got to be honest, he really did ball out, but it was a couple games that really put him over the edge. From a consistency standpoint, it really wasn't there, but he did have to deal with Tyson Bagent, who was just a crap quarterback too in this league. But the real problem here is that Keenan Allen is now there, who is the #1 route runner in open score last year, which is ESPN stat to basically say how open you got on your routes. And guys, Keenan Allen was averaging almost 25 points a game in fantasy when he was healthy. This dude was on another level. So I don't think he's washed at all, but if you do think he's washed, then maybe you should be a little more interested in DJ Moore. But when rookie quarterbacks enter these types of situations, although this is a really great situation, they tend to not do that well. And not to mention with the 9th overall pick, the Bears did select Rome Odunze, who's an amazing route runner and could be a true X receiver on this team in one day. The way I see it, DJ Moore is going to be very efficient with his targets since his Bears offense should be pretty hard to stop, but I don't think he'll get quite enough volume to put him in that 1,300 to 1,500 yard category, and I don't see 10+ touchdowns anytime soon. Number 4 is Michael Pittman Jr. He's the wide receiver 24 at pick 32.1. This is one, like I said before, I'm looking for guys who can make it into round 2 or round 1 the next year. This is someone who definitely cannot do that. I think he's purely at a ceiling right now. We saw with Gardner Minshew, he actually averaged almost 10 targets a game. It was like 9.8, which was about 4th or 5th best in the league. That will not be happening with Anthony Richardson. He thrives in the short to intermediate parts of the field, great slot possession receiver, but he does not do very much downfield. They just draft Adonai Mitchell, who is great downfield. They still have Alec Pierce, more of a downfield kind of guy. So they have guys for that role. He's not that guy. And from Anthony Richardson's college days to his little bit that he showed in the pros so far, his mid-range and short accuracy just is not there. He's a runner and a deep ball passer, so I don't think these skill sets match up quite enough where he'll get, 7+ targets a game. I see something like 6.5. And I just don't think he's quite athletic enough for him to really do enough with those 6 to 7 targets a game. So once again, I'm out. And before we get to number 5, all of these ADPs you're seeing here from Underdog Fantasy, where everyone is paying to draft these teams, or we're competing for $15 million worth of prizes. I've already drafted over 55 teams, and when you join with code DNR, they give you up to $250 to play with, so join that today. The 5th wide receiver is George Pickens at wide receiver 28, pick 41. It's no secret he had a couple huge games with Mason Rudolph at the end of the year to really buoy his stats. I'm not that impressed. I could see the upside case for another 11 to 1,200 yard season, but I think he's too limited as a route runner to really develop any more than that. Russ is definitely a quarterback upgrade, so I could see maybe a little bit more touchdowns, but I just can't pay this price tag when guys like Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, all those guys are going around him. I usually draft one of them, and if another wide receiver like Cooper Kupp is in this range, or Tank Dell, I just go with them. Kind of the odd man out where I just cannot see him ever in his career really getting to that like 1,500 yard threshold just because the route running is that limited. If this video gets to 50 likes, I'll do another one of these videos for running backs. Let's run that up right now. Leave a comment, drop a follow, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.